Today's episode of Still Untitled is brought to you by Video Blocks. They offer great value with an unlimited download model. Choose from a library of over 115,000 HD video clips, After Effects templates, motion backgrounds, and cinemagraphs. On average, subscribers pay less than $1 per download over the course of a year, and they have a great variety of time lapses, aerials, US international locations, slow motion, nature shots, and more. Everything is 100% royalty-free, even if a subscription is canceled. VideoBlocks is also offering listeners of this podcast a year's subscription for only $99. This is $50 off the usual price tag for our listeners only, less than $10 a month. Get your subscription today for only $99 at videoblocks.com/stilluntitled. That's VideoBlocks, videoblocks.com/stilluntitled for this exclusive offer. Now on with the show. Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Norm.
I'm Adam.
And I'm John.
We have a special guest. First of all, we are on the floor at Jacob Javits Center on the west side of New York City at New York's Comic-Con 2016.
It's on location.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done a podcast on location in the crowd before.
Well, we are right in the middle of one of the major intersections of the main floor of Javits.
It is really busy.
It's an absolute madhouse. Hundreds of thousands of people wandering, 150,000 people here this weekend.
Yeah, we're here on the Friday, which is already at around 1 p.m. We started early. We've been shooting videos here all morning, and you can just feel it getting more and more packed.
I did my costume walk first thing this morning, and thank goodness I did, because I wouldn't make it 2 feet now. We can say what I was.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, but now we tweeted pictures.
Totoro.
Oh, wow.
And so I was a 7-foot-tall Totoro, and it's really wide.
You had not been able to move.
And I couldn't see except from a camera hidden under my leaf hat that I had a monitor inside. And so actually when I asked you to stand in front of me upstairs, what I was doing was I was using a Sharpie, because I had both my hands free inside the costume.
Sure.
I was using a Sharpie to mark the center line of the camera's vision so that when I looked at you, my eyes were positioned to look at you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about performance.
We should give credit because this costume, we had to bring a costume in New York.
Right.
We're based on the West Coast.
Right.
And this summer, Adam was the bear from The Revenant at San Diego Comic-Con.
I remember that.
And that was not an easy that wouldn't have been an easy costume to ship. We had to drive it to LA at an expense to get it to New York City in a box that would have to be 4 feet on the side and 6 feet tall.
No.
But in your build of the bear costume, you had done many revisions, and you had gotten to a point where you could teach people how to make it. It wouldn't be difficult. And we talked about that in the last video, and someone posted in our comments, oh, I wonder if you could use the same technique that you would use to build a bear costume to build a Totoro.
And I read this in the comments, and I was like, Norm, you have to reach out to them and ask them if it's okay if I take that idea and run with it.
Right.
Because it's a great idea. I love Totoro. I love all of Miyazaki's films.
Sure.
The idea that I could be a big, huggable, furry forest sprite.
Yeah.
And I had lots of people hugging me today.
Oh my goodness.
And we recorded my camera feed.
Right.
So when people hugged me, their face is literally buried in the fur at the bottom of the frame.
Right. And they come back and they're just, oh, I hugged Totoro.
That was awesome.
No, if my daughter had been here, you would have gotten a hug from her, because she absolutely loves every Miyazaki film, and that one particularly, of course.
Well, if you bring her to San Francisco, come by the cave. Totoro is a costume I am not going to store flat.
Right.
He packs flat.
Sure.
But I'm going to store him up because it's like a happiness machine. How can you ever be sad if Totoro is standing in your house waiting for you to get home?
This is a very, very good question.
And if it was another creature, that'd be terrifying. That size, that furry, but no.
Yeah.
Totoro is like a happy surprise.
Right, exactly.
I may someday try and make him smile, but I don't. I want him I want it to happen. I want the animatronic of this smile.
Around that fur.
That would be a whole new head.
It might be. Well, the thing is, I built him like a Chinese lantern.
Right.
So the concentric circles of wood, literally wood, taped together and then covered in fur.
Right.
So he actually shipped in a television box.
Wow. I did have somebody ask me if you were going to cosplay as me on the floor. And I was like, no, I don't think that one's going to work very well. you'd have to shave a tonsure up here for one thing.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
No, I don't think so.
But I actually have a wig of my hair that you could wear. You can cosplay as me.
That's a thought.
Just gotta get some darker glasses.
Yeah, a little bit darker glasses.
So John, what is your convention life like? How do you experience cons?
Well, for me,
as an author.
Oh wow! I mean, the thing for me is that it's slightly different than as a fan because you're part of the show.
Right.
I mean, you know how that is.
Yeah.
You show up, you go do a panel. People are there to see you perform. If you walk on the floor, there are always going to be some people who are going to recognize you. You will see people that you know, and so that you will have that discussion. So for me, it's a combination of getting to be a nerd and nerding out and doing business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't really separate the two of those, without effort, because even if you have any sort of notability at all, whether you're an author or a comic book artist or an actor, especially actors or TV performers, anybody that people recognize as a creator, the experience is going to shift. So you can't ever just be purely a fan. There's always going to be that sort of performance aspect, whether you want it to be there or not. That said, one of the nice things about being an author is, generally speaking, the fame accrues to your books, not to your face. So the number of people who actually can recognize me as being me, as opposed to random middle-aged white dude with a goatee and beard, is fairly, it's a fairly low percentage. So I can actually walk and enjoy it to, some extent.
Speaking of recognizing you, I think you popped up in a thread on one of my favorite internet forums the other day to comment on somebody being a jerk.
Uh-oh.
And you posted, I won't say the forum, but you posted "Bless his heart." Was that you?
That was me.
That was you.
That was me.
And now
I
you know
think
his
that's
internet
Scalzi.
handle.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. Yes.
Bless his heart.
Yes,
which is how you
indeed.
say "go to hell."
Right,
in
right,
the South.
exactly. It's the most polite way to say "screw you" that you can possibly do.
But the other thing that happens at these cons, and I'm sure this happens for you too, is it's this one place you get to see a lot of friends of yours.
Yes.
But for a really concentrated amount of time. Like, it's not just like we're in, we're out, like a Vegas thing. It's literally
Right.
like 3 days. Everyone's hanging out, and there's lots of dinners, and there's lots
Right.
of.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that I tell people where I live, because I live in rural Ohio, in a town that has 1/100th of the population of the number of people who are going to be here this weekend.
Right.
I mean, it's literally, a traffic jam is 3 cars behind an Amish buggy sort of town. Right.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Don't you ever feel isolated?" Or And I'm like, "No, I go to conventions, and I will see Will Wheaton more often than I will see my literal next door neighbor."
Yep.
I'll be like, "Hi, Will. Are we gonna do dinner?" It's like, "Can't do it. Okay, I'll see you in 3 weeks."
Yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly.
In Arizona, in
So-
Seattle, Emerald City.
Yeah, and it's kind of a great thing because you do get the thing where you get to see the friends that you know. You do get to meet people that you admire. I mean, I met you for the first time at San Diego at Woodstock.
Yep.
And that was the way that we got to get introduced to each other. And so you do get that kind of cool thing because not only, and this is where it really is, not only are you a creator, but you're also a fan. So like when you meet the people who you've admired, their work in one way or another, and you go and you're like, "Oh, hey, it's great to meet you. Yeah, no, we're cool together." But you still have that part of your brain that's like, "Don't freak out, don't freak out, don't freak out.
That
Oh,
was
I'm gonna
constant.
freak out now."
Mutual Appreciation Society.
It really does,
Yeah.
and it's great when that happens. I just met for the first time Chase Masterson. Do you know who she is?
Yes.
She's on.
Yeah, Double Girl.
Yeah,
from
she-
CS9.
Yes, and we met, and it was just so great to meet her, and she knew my stuff, and I knew her stuff, and we were like, okay, for the first 20 minutes, at each other, and then we could like calm down and be like normal human beings. But you have that, you have that thing where, someone you admire. Like I had someone who was on Serenity, come up and ask me to sign my book for them, and I was just like, "Oh,
Serious?
okay,
Yeah.
oh."
That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, so it's always cool when that
And
happens.
speaking of your books, we did a spoiler cast of your book. I think it's the only one we've done a few books before, but we
Sure.
discussed Red Shirts
Yeah.
on our podcast.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we loved it. I feel like that book ties into this environment very well.
Yes, it does. Well, I mean, because it does a couple of things. The book is explicitly about the science fiction culture and how it permeates in ways that you don't expect.
You really don't expect.
I mean, it does have shout outs to Comic-Con. It does have shout outs to, Wikipedia. Nerd culture is all over it. But it is also the sort of thing that somebody who comes here, they're going to pick up that book and they're immediately going to get it. Just knowing the title of the book. Well, I wrote a book. What book did you write? Red Shirts. Oh. Well, and there's no, they get it.
And here's actually the thing that I said on the podcast, and I love pointing this out to people, is like Red Shirts is an exploration into what it's like for the ensigns of the Star Trek Enterprise to go down to the planet and die.
Right.
But then that's just like the very beginning.
It's a surface.
That is the surface. You go so many layers deep. That's what made that
the relationship between the writers of the episodes and the characters is great. The actors and the characters they portray, what they bring to the characters.
Sure.
And how,
Well, and that was why, for me, it was fun to write. I mean, the thing about Red Shirts, and I think one of the reasons why no one actually wrote a novel about it before, is because the surface is really easy. The expendable person dies and is expendable.
Right.
And we all get that that's a 5-minute joke. But, the thing about it is, and I think this is the testament to my nerddom, is you want to go deeper than that. It's like, well, why has it been this way? Why, how would this affect people if they found out? How would they try to solve that problem? Because everybody has been that person who, whether or not it's been, like you're in a group of friends and you are the last friend picked, almost sort of thing. It's like, all right, you can come along too, right?
All of my grade school experience.
Exactly. I mean, and anybody who's been a nerd has kind of had that feeling. We've all been metaphorically a red shirt in one way or another,
totally.
Right? And we know that there's more to it than just being the expendable one. The one that can be left behind. The one who's like, it's okay if Bob's not here. We got the people that we need, sort of thing. And I think that's one of the things that resonated with people. And for me, as a writer, it was just fun to take what is really a one-note joke and see how many changes you can play on it. And I think that's the thing that surprised people. People knew going in that they were going to get the red shirt joke, but they didn't know what else they were going to get.
Right.
And I'm almost certain they didn't know that they were going to get the codas at the end.
Yeah, which I found to be the most affecting. Actually.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen any costumes here this weekend that have blown you away so far?
I have seen. Well, I saw a big. I saw a Big Hero 6 costume, which I just
Baymax?
loved. Yeah, Baymax, and it was just super large. And there's two things that hit me. Was one, authenticity. It just looked perfect. Second of all, that person walking around here, somebody's got to be holding their hand.
Right.
So I saw that.
Were they inflatable?
They were inflatable.
Oh.
So and of course,
I can see the gears turning your head at them.
I want
Yeah.
an inflatable Betamax. I want an inflatable Baymax costume. I bought one. It's kind of translucent. It doesn't quite work. It was going to be one of the things I wore, and they are giant.
Right.
But also, I know Scott Adsit, who did the voice of Baymax, who would record some maybe custom things for me.
Right. Well, that would be the way you do it. And then I saw, as I was walking around, it's got a mecha of some sort or another.
Yes.
That's like 12 feet tall.
A Jaeger.
Yeah.
The Hodgman was telling me.
Yeah,
about it.
and it was just like, I'm like, damn, that is a commitment.
Yes.
Because that's not easy to do. Well, you're a maker, you know how it is.
I do. Yeah,
So,
And you're wearing a shirt inspired by Stranger Things, and we just saw before we started this.
Yeah.
We saw great Stranger Things cosplay.
Well, I like the more inventive ones. This was a guy wearing the wall.
He was wearing the Winona Ryder's wall.
Right.
With the letters. The
with
Ouija
letters
board
and
letters.
Christmas lights on it.
and I did see a Winona Ryder around here with a phone. Right. Going,
That's so good.
And that's and that's one of the really cool things is that just the fact that people, whether it is they're wearing just a simple red shirt or they're building a Jaeger in their house and bringing it to the Javits Center in the middle of New York, which is not a simple thing to do.
Look over here.
Right.
We don't have footage of it, but this couple, they just grabbed some paper.
Right.
They needed to do something.
Right.
And that need, when it's just crayons and construction paper, especially when it's crayons and construction paper, inspires me when I see people doing
Right.
it.
It says that I am part of this too.
Right.
This is what I identify with. Where right now somebody is walking around with a Walking Dead bat. You know?
And also, even if you're not wearing the costume, on the other end, the appreciation of it. I find that ahead of big cons, I want to binge shows or watch new shows so I can spot the things.
Right.
I can appreciate it because it's a reciprocal relationship.
Right.
If someone's going to wear something obscure, if they get recognized once, that one time is going to make it all worth it.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say, and also the mashups, right?
Yep.
Where you have something from Minecraft plus something from Stranger Things.
Right.
And you put it all together and you're like, I would not have thought about that, but damn if that does not work.
And there's a deep celebration here of exactly that kind of esoterica. I'm going to be the guy you never recognize.
Right.
I mean, one of the first times I saw that was Ice Cream Guy from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So there's a guy carrying, when they're, just for the people who don't know, in Empire Strikes Back, when they're evacuating Cloud City, there's people running all over the place.
With
and there's
stuff.
a African-American guy running around with his thing under his arm.
It's a computer core.
What's that?
It's labeled in the toy as a computer core.
A computer core. And it turns out fans figured out that it was an ice cream maker. And there's this whole contingent of people now at every con who put on the right coveralls, and they're that guy, and they run everywhere. And like, not only did they choose the most, what at that point was a super esoteric costume, not esoteric anymore.
Right.
But they found a group of people and they do it together.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And it
the
was,
ice cream races.
It became a thing, like, just like in retro, it's when the script was written, when that scene was filmed, that was just an extra.
Right.
But when they made the toy, then someone at Kenner who made the toy had to write a name,
Well, this
had
is
to
a
write
prop
a
master.
backstory.
They were like, prop master, he has to carry something. He was
Right.
like, assistant, run to the nearest Sainsbury's
Right.
and get me something that's white and this big.
And then someone writing novelization had to write, okay, I guess that must have been the computer core.
Right, exactly.
I have a T-shirt that I made specific, which says, "I am here to usurp your narrative." And the reason that I have that T-shirt is it is a tribute to the minor characters that once you start writing them, they take over and have a life of their own. Because when I'm writing my books, I will find characters that I just need somebody there.
Right,
I just need someone for exposition, right? And I write them, and they say something interesting. And I'm like, all right, well, you've earned another line. And then the next thing I know, they've become a major character that they've moved the plot. You read the Ghost Brigades, right?
Yeah.
The alien character, Kanan Sunansu.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The moral heart of that book, and it started off, I just needed him for the first chapter because I wanted to have that James Bond opening, right?
Amazing.
But then later on, I was like, I need a character to explain things. I'm going to bring him back. And then as the more he talked, the more I realized that he was actually literally the heart of that story.
And that turn that you reveal through him, where the audience, where the reader gets to experience a sort of 180-degree shift in their clarity about a situation, is one of those lovely.
Yeah.
It's like I get chills. It's a hard trick to pull off.
Right.
You paint yourself into a corner,
Right.
and then suddenly
And you
there's
think,
this
good luck
whole new
getting out of
vista.
that. Yeah.
That's great.
But that's the whole thing is, and the fan appreciation of the guy running around with an ice cream maker is exactly that. The fact that Star Wars Rebels exists and has Wedge in it.
Right.
Right. You know, and he was literally just a guy going red 3, you know, or red 2, whatever. Which red was it?
That's deeper than my knowledge set.
Deeper than my knowledge set. But the fact that, you know, he continues on.
Right.
You know, and he does that because, you know, that the fans were like, I want to know more about. He's the only guy besides the main characters who is in all 3.
But then
I want to know more about him. I want to know more about Wedge.
And as people interested in esoterica and collecting information and stuff, I think all 3 of us completists, right? we get to start to learn something, and we tease out a bit of that thread, and we start to pull, and we just want to keep on pulling as long as that thread's going to afford it, right?
Right.
And that's what this is all about.
Right.
This is all about that, like, I'm going to need to read everything ever about this.
The books and the TVs are just tiny windows into worlds that exist in there and in here. And
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing about, it's almost 10 years now, but there was a real argument in science fiction circles about fanfic and whether it was gross appropriation or if it was positive. And my feeling was and always has been, if you have people making fanfic of your world, go ahead and buy that Mercedes, because they are so invested in what you're doing that they literally can't wait for you. They're going to go on ahead and they're going to build out. And you may not necessarily follow where they go, But the point is, they are thinking about the worlds that you built. That they are completists there.
They're thinking about it while you're not thinking about it.
Right, exactly. While you're off doing whatever it is you're doing, they are staying up nights writing about the things that you've created. And so for me, it has always been a thing of, I think you're right, this is all part of the completist thing of I want to know everything, and now that I know everything, I want to know more. And if you're not there yet, I'll go, well, how about this? And so it's all part of the same nerd spectrum, so to speak. And it just thrills me when someone says, I wrote a story in the old man's world, please don't be angry with me. I'm like, no, write it.
Right.
Don't sell it, but write it. And I'm okay with you even sharing it, but as far as it goes, that means that you are thinking about me when I'm not.
Well, and back to your original point, we come here to Comic-Con, all three of us come here for work.
Right.
We have a lot to do while we're here. But that's by design. We like working hard.
Yeah.
We like coming and seeing our friends and coming to this. But also, I think people might not realize how inspiring we find it to come here and see that kind of that itch getting scratched in every possible way.
Sure. Well, I mean, it is easy, especially if you do a lot of conventions, as I think we all do, to begin to feel a little bit blasé about it, because it's another convention center, another floor, another set of people doing all this sort of stuff, and so you can get a little bit jaded about it. And so it is actually worth it to make the effort to realize that. Actually, Will Wheaton said something very smart to me once at sort of the beginning of when I started doing that thing where I got lines. Right. And he'd had lines for a long time. And he said to me, you will see 100, 200, 300 people, and you will not remember them all. But they are all coming to see you, and they will remember that moment. Yeah. You owe them that moment. And every time that I feel myself becoming, oh God, I've got to be here, I remember what he said. It's like, this is their moment. And you have to make sure that their moment with you, even if it is like waving at you in passing, that moment is a good moment for them. And when you make it a good moment for them, it becomes a good moment for you.
Yeah.
Immortality.
Totally
that's how it happens.
It's totally true.
In the memories of others.
I think that's a great place to wrap this podcast up. It's still a crazy, amazing scene here, right in one of the main intersections of New York Comic-Con. John Scalzi, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have to get you back on. We were going to have you on the podcast in San Francisco a few months ago, but we couldn't make the schedule work. We'll have to do that again.
Maybe we'll have to start a convention and then he'll come.
Absolutely.
We'll bring the lines.
No, I will definitely be in San Francisco again, and when I'm in the Bay Area, I will totally do it.
Now, Norm, we're still traveling a bit. When this airs, what's up on Tested this week?
A lot of our covers videos that we've shot at Comic-Con. I was at a convention right before flying here for virtual reality, so we have some videos from that coming up as well.
Excellent.
Some projects.
Are you going to get any time to do a photo collection here?
I got to fly back.
You're on a red eye in
4 hours. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's crazy.
I will pray for you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye,
guys. See you guys next time.
Thanks again to VideoBlocks for sponsoring us today. VideoBlocks offers great value with unlimited downloads from a library of 115,000 HD video clips, After Effects templates, motion backgrounds, and cinemagraphs. On average, subscribers pay less than $1 per download over the course of a year, with access to a variety of time lapses, aerials, US international locations, slow motion, nature shots, and more. And they're continuously adding new content to their library so it stays fresh. Everything is 100% royalty-free, even if a subscription is canceled, and you have unrestricted usage rights for personal or commercial projects. Keep what you download and maintain usage rights forever. Now, VideoBlocks is offering our listeners a year subscription for $99. That's $50 off their usual price tag for our listeners only, less than $10 a month. Get your yearly subscription today for only $99 at videoblocks.com/Still Untitled. That's VideoBlocks, VideoBlocks.com/Still Untitled. And we'll see you next week.